Anybody else have a lot of these at their house? For charging all your stuff, phones, devices, all that. And even though we tend to have a lot of them, sometimes you lose the right one that you need for your iPad versus your phone, your Android, whatever it is. And if you can't find it after a while, or if it breaks, the particular one you need for that device, your device becomes useless. I mean, we're really dependent on this connection to a power source. Well, today's 5-minute devotional, Jesus has sort of an analogy with much older technology that's actually better than that one. But we'll get into it in John chapter 15, verses 1 through 8. I am the vine, says Jesus, the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers. And the branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, and so prove to be my disciples. Well, there were no electronic devices in Jesus' time. But what he's talking about is staying connected to the source of life and power, which is him. He describes himself as a vine. So, going back to his analogy, which is better than mine, just is. From what I know, not being a vine keeper myself, apparently vines grow like crazy. And what you want is grapes. In order to get that, you have to trim off the parts of the vine that aren't producing grapes, so that the ones that are left produce really well. And of course, the part that gets cut off can't do anything because it's not connected. So this is Jesus' analogy. He says, I am the vine. And in order for us to do anything good, we have to be connected to him in order to bear fruit. And even then, sometimes there's a pruning that happens, that there might be unfruitful, unproductive things that might need to get cut off. But the main point here is remaining in the vine. So abide, there's that old word. It's a cool word, but I don't know, we use it much. Remain is another way of saying it. And if you remain in Jesus, if you abide in Jesus, you will bear much fruit. So you'll be able to do good stuff and have good stuff come out of your life. So that's all nice and spiritual, right? But you're probably wondering, so what does it look like? How do I actually abide or remain in Jesus? Well, I will give you 3 things, 3 simple things that are not exhaustive. These aren't the only things, but these are things that are sort of the basic ways to remain or abide in Jesus. One is prayer. Pray every day. Doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be fancy. Read your Bible. He says, in fact, in this passage, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. Well, how do you get the words in you? Well, you read them and you make a practice of being in Jesus' words. And finally, and this is one that's really pertinent to our day, is being with other Christians, known as fellowship. But we're not meant to live this life just me and Jesus, just alone with God. as we've talked about, we're part of, the other people are part of his body. So in order to abide in him, we need each other. So easiest way to do that is to come to stuff. If you haven't been to youth group in a while, come back for some of the stuff we're doing this summer. There's ways to be in church too that we haven't been able to do in a long time. To worship, to be with each other, to get communion, all that stuff. All of that's part of abiding too. And I hope that we can do a lot of that more this summer.